Hey, hi. Thanks for joining me here at OK Retro. I'm building a donut shop, so let's do this. Huh, that's weird. I will save this for later. Let's try this again. Okay, yes, these are the main parts we are working with today. This was my first time working with a model kit for model trains. It's HO scale, so I just kind of fiddled with it for a little bit to see how these joints and seams would line up. Once I saw how they would kind of be held together by themselves, I started gluing. Also, look at this donut. I'm obsessed. I then grabbed an 8x8 by 1 wooden plinth of sorts for us to build upon. I used tacky glue here to adhere some ready board foam. I love tacky glue because it's a bit of a beefy glue for most jobs. I then traced where I thought I'd like the sculpture to go and started cutting the foam to add some more dimension to the landscape. I must admit, I haven't worked much at this scale, so I should say this is my first project, and I've already learned a lot and how I would do a lot different. But hey, you learn a lot moving with a little bit of confidence. Early on in this project, I decided I want to have some concrete, asphalt-like ground near the donut shop, but I definitely wanted some wilderness as a huge part of it. I used a highly specialized tool, homemade and passed down through the generations, but it's a ball of aluminum, or aluminium if you're nasty. I use this ball by rolling it and pushing it into the foam to create variation of cracks and depressions. I'll have flocking going over much of this, but I wanted some of the old parking lot vibe to peep through. I then proceeded to use some cheap paint to stain the Mod Podge to seal the project at this time. Mod Podge is great to seal the project, it gives it a little bit more structural integrity, and the brown was added so you can easily see where you've already painted and the thickness of that Mod Podge layer that was there. It is unfortunate that the brown I chose proceeded to look like a crappy melted chocolate bar. And fret not, it actually drove me crazy, even as a hidden layer, so I'll be fixing that shortly. Let's start painting our donut shop, shall we? So for the roof of the donut shop, I assumed it would be a little gross weathered, light gray roofing, so with it primed already, I started adding a gray undercoat for the edge that will be a little bit of a chrome detailing for the shop's former glory. Now for this donut, figured I'd start with a dark brown to kind of hang out in those recesses. I kept thinking of it as a cake donut with a nice toasted brown color. So let's start this bad boy. And y'all, dry brushing is so satisfying. Look at that donut right now. I had no idea how I was going to paint the shop, but I wanted it to stand up against the greens and muddier tones I would be using for the wilderness and the weathering to age the structure. So I figured a nice cream and orange would maybe be nice for our donut shop. I also added a greenish teal for the support structure of the donut and the back wall of the shop. Now for weathering our shop, and now is a great time to reiterate, I only kinda know what I'm doing. But do I love Agrax Earthshade and Nuln Oil by Citadel? Absolutely I do. And I don't really paint minis, so I use these washes for small pieces and mix my own washes for larger projects. Also, I dry brushed the edge of the concrete platform the donut shop sits on, and I didn't realize how nice that would look to add a little bit more depth to that, like concrete. Also, to see the shop come together with the roof on it was a really special moment. Look at it. Look at this little babe. Now we have to bedazzle our donut a bit. I wasn't too concerned about the seam around the donut. It's not a donut, it's a structure that looks like a donut, so conceivably it would have a seam, and I wanted to weather that seam as well as add some grime to this donut hole. That wasn't a great sentence, but you know what I mean. I also added some paint and washes to the roof to add, years of decay that would probably happen to a donut shop in the future. I also used the washes to hide a bit of my flubs with the paint, and also kind of highlight the transitions and angles of the donut shop's angular orange front ordering area, so depending on the light, it would still easily be, legible for your eyeballs. Now back to this horrid landscape. Look at it. I had some drywall filler I used, and I'm not even exaggerating. I was done for the day, and as soon as that drywall stuff cured, I was like, neat, let's paint it, let's get rid of this melted chocolate look. Oh my god, it's better. So, there it is. It's better, isn't it? I found these cheap trees at a hobby store on clearance, so thank you for your contributions, trees. I also painted and added some washes to the trunks to not have it read so much as plastic. I also used tacky glue here to anchor them in place. Now I grabbed a large sheet of paper to catch any flocking that would go buck wild, and I used some Woodland Scenics flocking with some watered down adhesive. I love using pipettes to apply adhesive when I can because I can control the flow and then use a brush to fill out the area, and I can pull the adhesive into a direction of my need. You know, adhesive things. Regardless, this was still a learning experience. I haven't used flocking, but I've watched videos and there takes some finesse. I was really happy with the flocking I got onto the donut shop, especially above the back door. Once I got the project to this point, I realized I would have preferred to have my plinth maybe 6x6 to cram these bits closer together, but alas, work with what you got. I did have some natural bone colored gravel bits, so I added them, and once they were held in place, I applied washes to be in contrast with a little bit of the ground I had previously painted. I found these deer at the same scale of the donut shop, and I thought of them as a pleasant addition to this not so quiet pastoral landscape I've constructed. Their pigment was a little bit too pale and gray, so I bedazzled their paint jobs as well. I wanted one of the does to be close up to the shop and the buck higher up as like the king of the forest, you know, from the Bambi. Or in this case, the donut shop. I added a doe and some younglings in the back. Since filming this, I've gotten a Lazy Susan for some sleek views in the round, but I'll awkwardly rotate these beauty shots for you. I learned so much making this video, functionally making dioramas, and also how I can dodge a camera. I'm excited to see what's next because it's always good to be always learning. I do want to keep adding to my dilapidated old buildings with nature. Maybe that'll be a thing here, so who's to say? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.